Liz Truss puts pressure on Australia over the trade deal, Michael Gove continues to pursue his health passport, and Boris Johnson is talking about the third wave despite the vaccines. Well, this government is all over the place. There are some good things coming out of it, some weird things, some bad things. We got some good ministers and some slightly not great ministers. My favorite is Liz Truss, who's just getting on with the job and doing everything right. She's staying away from scandals and personal gossip and everything like that, despite what people thought Liz Truss would be as Secretary of State. So she's actually proven them wrong. She's also currently putting pressure on Australia over this upcoming trade deal. I'm going to talk about that. But when you have others like Michael Gove going with their health passports and everything else, that will make things actually difficult for Liz Truss, on the other hand, and also senior civil servants who are currently too busy having multiple jobs with lobbying firms and corporations instead of just doing their jobs in Whitehall. We have to praise people like Liz Truss. Now, what she's doing is that until recently, until I think the end of 2020, she was dealing with Australia's trade minister, the predecessor to the current one, and they did really well. They had a number of, I think, 4 rounds of talks that went really well, rapidly, and now there's a bit of an obstacle in the form of Dan Tehan, who is the new trade minister in Australia, and he's been in his role for a few months, and there's a bit of a problem because when Liz Truss was dealing with Simon Birmingham, who was a former trade minister, they passed a number of stages during these negotiations, and both sides knew what they wanted when it comes to services and also products, just general trade, but also in terms of the situation with visas and travel. But now we have Dan Tehan, who's being slightly slow. Some people are saying it's because he's inexperienced compared to Liz Truss and Simon Birmingham. Some people are saying he's just a bit of an obstacle in this whole thing. But Liz Truss has now invited Dan Tehan to London. He actually has arrived today, and they are going to start talking from tomorrow, and something interesting is going to happen. So this bilateral trade deal, by the way, with Australia, between the two countries, will boost the UK exports to Australia by around £900 million. That's huge, of course. And that's why Liz Truss is planning to be robust. One of her sources actually told the Telegraph that she plans to sit him down in the Foreign Office, one of the rooms, in an uncomfortable chair. And then he's going to have to just deal with Liz Truss directly for 9 hours until he says yes and actually agrees with everything. So 9 hours in an uncomfortable chair, directly, face to face, head to head with Liz Truss. And of course, I'm guessing we're going to have some good news after that meeting. So this is exactly why I support Liz Truss and her work, because she's just she's still pretty good with media and social media, generally speaking, but she's not really attention seeking. Everyone thought she's going to be a complete like an Instagram like Liz, like Rishi Sunak with weird posts and everything else. But no, she just has a good PR team, good enough, but not in an attention seeking sort of minister. Certain ministers who are doing this now. She's dealing with all this whilst having her own team. Apart from the senior team around Liz Truss who are really good, of course, she has to also deal with civil servants, a lot of senior civil servants in Whitehall who are not that competent or great. Why? Because they're too busy having multiple jobs. So we just discovered that, thanks to the Telegraph, 13 highly paid civil servants had second jobs during their time at Whitehall. And this is the private sector role. So whether they're lobbying firms or big corporations who lobby on behalf of their businesses to governments, this is wrong on so many levels. One, it's just immoral. I don't think the civil servants, because of their role, should have any links to the outside world directly, conflict of interest. And also, they can't get things done. That's why they're too busy. They can't multitask. We've seen how they are in the Home Office and the problems that they create. And Priti Patel obviously has to take all the blame because she's the boss, but they have to do the job and they're not doing the job. Same applies to a lot of senior civil servants in various government departments. So people like Liz Truss, good ministers, have to deal with these people. They also have to deal with other ministers who are not too great. We have Michael Gove, who's going to Israel to learn from their health or immunity passport program, because so Israel have gone very robust with their measures, kind of slightly draconian. And so he wants to basically learn about how Israel have shut down civil liberties. So let's do the same in the UK. Why not? And there are a couple of problems with this, because we've talked about these health passports and how, of course, it's going to be counterproductive. There's absolutely also no justification, considering scientists and the government told us that as long as the majority of the vulnerable and the elderly have taken the jab, everything else is fine, because we have to live with it like the flu and any other virus. That's what they told us, by the way. Despite the fact that other scientists were saying it for over a year, recently WHO, SAGE, and everybody else have also come out to finally confirm that we have to learn to live with this virus. So just like the flu, the cases will exist every year, and it might go up. But as long as the majority have taken the jab, nobody will actually, not many people lose their lives randomly like it happened before. So that has gone out the window, apparently, that argument. The goalposts have been moved once again, because they're going ahead with this program. It's not going to work, because we also discovered that the UK Border Force are seizing at least 100 fake the COVID certificates every day. And MPs have been told recently about the document. And this is interesting. So these certificates that have been used, whether it's the testing side, so obviously we've got the tests, you've got two different types of tests and you have to take, and then they're going to introduce the new immunity passports. You do realize if people want to get around them, they're going to get around them. They're going to find a way. Just like with anything else you ban, when there's a black market, there's also people who are, if they don't want to use it, they're going to find a way to forge it. And this is what's happened, basically. Lucy Morrison of the Immigration Services Union has actually told members of parliament of the practical challenges in implementing the government's strategy for preventing people with the virus from entering the country. They said that they're very easy to forge. And in many cases, officers simply had no way of checking whether the documents were indeed real. So this is the problem that we have. We got that 20 out of 20,000 people entering the UK. Most of them were obviously doing it through business. Whether the trucks and everything else coming in because of the goods that had to come enter the country. So the same thing is going to happen with the immunity passports, especially for the digital, because there will be hackers who can actually find a way to replicate it. The same applies to the tests, the negative tests that are coming out fake. But clearly, they don't really understand, because the government, both Boris Johnson and the rest of SAGE, are now talking about a third wave in this summer, despite the fact that they're going to, as I said, they've released this program, the rollout of the vaccines. They said that the majority of the elderly and the vulnerable, as long as they take it, the rest will be fine. And also they said, well, we have a roadmap. We're not going to cancel the roadmap, but the third wave is coming. So make up your mind. If it's going to be bad? So that means you selling your Pfizer's and your AstraZeneca's and all the others, that was just pointless. And also your roadmap. Why not just create another lockdown? Lockdown 4, bring it on. Because, you're scaring people again. You're saying the third wave is coming. But, again, we know that numbers look very good. Fewer than 2,000 people, patients are now currently in hospitals. More than 10 million people in the UK. That's 90% of UK adults have now fully been vaccinated. So these are all good news. But clearly, they don't really care. They continue to scare people, and mental health issues are going up. Cancer patients are in trouble. Ordinary people losing their jobs and businesses. No, they're all trivial, apparently. No one really cares about them. That's a problem with establishment. But let's focus on the positives. Liz Truss is doing a great job. Trade deal with Australia is coming, especially now because Australia needs us more than before, considering New Zealand have left their Western allies and have joined the Chinese Communist Party. So Australia, get on with the job. Thanks again for watching. I'm Tousi, and I'll see you guys in the next video.